The loss was painful, but nothing is worse than seeing Rick Celebrini pull Steph Curry out of a game due to injury late. How serious was Curry's injury suffered late in the contest? We'll break that down. We'll talk about the Warriors' loss and maybe some solutions to the size issue that they clearly have against a team like the Rockets. All that is straight ahead on today's show.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast.
What are they going to say now?
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's good, everyone? Welcome into Locked On Warriors. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Now's a great time to get in with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, use code Locked On NBA, and you will get $20 off your first purchase. This is Locked On Dubs, part of the #1 sports podcast network out there. That is the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You can catch us on YouTube, wherever you get your audio podcasts. A lot of ways to check us out. You can hop on whatever search engine you use, type in Locked On Warriors. You're going to find it very easily. I'm Charlie Walter, host of the show. Matt Kolsky joins me to discuss a Warriors loss, 104-100. Felt like a playoff game from last year where it's just hard to score on Houston, man. They're huge all around. They were missing a few guys. We did not see Tari Eason in this game. We did not see Kevin Durant in this game. For the Warriors, no Jonathan Kuminga. You know who's getting close is DeAnthony Melton, who also scrimmaged with Kuminga, part of a 5-on-5 scrimmage at Chase Center with the Santa Cruz Warriors. We'll get into that in a little bit. That's music to our ears. But, it was Butler with 21, Draymond with 12, Curry with 14, Will Richard with 18, Post with 12, 14 for Pajemski. And then aside from that, 0, 0, 0. You get a 0. You get a 0. Not a lot of help from the Warriors bench minus that handful of dudes today. They say it takes a village. They did not get the full villager experience. But before we get to the villagers, let's start with the guy. Let's start with the warden, the Wardell, I should say. You like that? The Wardell. Yeah, hold on. I'll be here till next week. Thank you. Anyway, Steph Curry left the game. Steve Kerr actually saying it's a relief that he heard it was a quad, said it's better than an ankle or a knee. So it's a right quad contusion per the Warriors. Curry's getting an MRI. Nothing else to report on aside from that. Fingers crossed, Kolsky.
Yeah, I think that's already a huge, Steve said it. That's already a huge positive piece of news. It looked like a knee to me, and that's scary. But it seems like maybe it was a Charlie horse. Sorry. Is that offensive to Charlies? That's my bad. It seems like a bruise, maybe a little dead leg, if you will, more so than any sort of structural injury. Obviously, I guess an MRI will tell us the full extent. But quad contusion, it feels like the best possible result of whatever was going on with Steph at the end of the game. So that's good news. We've already had
the performance.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I can see we've already got 5 reasons for the loss listed in
great
the
defense.
chat. And
not great defensive rebounding, but that's expected, right? And you didn't get the best game
honestly,
from Curry before he was
rebounding. The defensive rebounding was pretty good. They had more defensive rebounds. Look,
Silver
the Rockets are twice their size.
Yeah,
It's a structural disadvantage that they're going to have to deal with. And look, that was one of the reasons I was going to say of the 5 in the chat that they lost the game. They're all kind of right. If they don't give up 25 offensive rebounds, maybe they win this game. If they don't have some critical missed free throws late, maybe they win this game. If Steph Curry doesn't leave the game, or it's not even leave the game, if he isn't, the last couple minutes he played, he wasn't.
What was he doing on the floor? Because it just felt like he was dribbling into traps. He couldn't get away from anyone. He was clearly injured.
Yeah, I mean, I think if the quad contusion is if that I mean that adds up to me, because if it's just like a God, I don't want to offend you again, but I don't know what else to call it. I feel it's important to say Charlie horse here.
It's all right.
If it is a sort of a
I'll let it
Charlie
slide.
horse, right? If that's what it is, then that's the sort of thing like you're shaking your leg. You're like, all right, it's going to come back in a second. I'll be walking fine again in a minute. And you just kind of keep shaking it and it just doesn't quite come back.
But he turned it over like 3 times, probably due
I know.
to that Kolsky horse.
I earned that. Yeah. Maybe that's why, and maybe he stayed in too long. I mean, it says a lot about the state of Warrior guard play that Quentin
Like, what are you going to
Post-
do? Yeah, I mean,
Quentin
when he's
Post was the
gone,
guy who came in. You
yeah,
know?
when he's gone, you're thinking there's a chance there because Moody hits that 3. It's a 2-point game.
But
Free
then it's like,
throws the
who's
other
going to
way.
even?
It's like if you go into OT, what are we doing here? You know, no Kuminga too, and that's kind of what we were worried about in the offseason if Kuminga were to be traded. And as of right now, he may as well be traded because he's not playing, so it looks the same. And you see the you see that Jimmy and the fellas aren't enough to win serious basketball games.
No, not against good teams. It's just not.
Not against bad teams so far, too.
Well, that to me is a different problem. I think Jimmy and company, or whatever version of the Warriors, honestly, should be good enough to beat the bad teams in at least 2 or 3 of the games that they've lost so far. A game like tonight, though, that's just not the case. Even without Durant, the Rockets are too good for the Warriors to get, frankly, even when Steph played and wasn't limping around, a dud from Steph Curry, a so-so game from Jimmy Butler, and without Kuminga or Melton or good buddy, they're just not going to win. So we can point to, 22 points off 16 turnovers that they had. We can point to, what was it? I think 2 for 21 from 3 in the second half. I mean, you can track good offensive half in the first, good 3-point shooting, bad offensive half in the second, bad 3-point shooting. That's a pretty direct correlation. And if it's not Jimmy having a particularly big game or Steph going crazy or Kuminga scoring, it kind of is a question of whether they make their threes. And then there's the refs, which I don't even want to get into. I'll never understand the whistle that Steph Curry gets and how he could be not just called for the offensive foul, but have a good call for a defensive foul overturned to a bad call for an offensive foul, and then have like the same call go against him on the other end with a review. That makes no sense to me. Even you could hear Tim Legler and Richard Jefferson being like, yeah, I don't know about that one. That was terrible. And then there were a couple, Steph dribbled into some double teams, and those were uncharacteristic in some ways. Like, his turnovers are usually careless passes, not bad dribbling. But also, he's getting just bounced around by those dudes and never gets a call. It's a real bummer. I am hard pressed to say that's why they lost the game, given everything that went wrong that was self-inflicted, but it didn't help. And then I think we got to talk about, like, okay, the Warriors, none of the Warriors' second half was good. You're muted.
I said, set me up for a tease because when you give me the okay, I know a 2-minute tangent's coming. And
I'm going to set you up for this tease.
Okay.
We got to talk about Steve Kerr's player choices, I'll call it, tonight. Because frankly, it's just, it's
the numbers he runs. It just seems like a lot. Why are you going 6 of Pat and 5 of Gary, and why only 28 of Will Richard? Run him 33. He was playing awesome.
When we get back, I'll explain to you how actually Pat Spencer lost this game for the Golden State Warriors.
Oh, God. Locked on Warriors. We'll be back right after this.
Destroy Jimmy and Domino's. I know Jimmy drinks great wine.
All right, today's episode is brought to you by DripDrop. When I'm hydrated, everything just works better. My focus, energy, mood, skin. That's why I've been using DripDrop. It's doctor-developed hydration that keeps me running at full power no matter what my day looks like. DripDrop's not your average sports drink. It delivers 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of leading brands using a science-backed formula trusted by medical professionals, firefighters, and over 90% of top college and pro teams. Why I like DripDrop as a part of my midday routine, you just throw it in your water, whether you're exercising, whether you're just trying to stay replenished. It's the non-negotiable in my day, hydration, and DripDrop makes it easy, and they're offering our podcast listeners 20% off your first order. Go to DripDrop.com. Use promo code LOCKEDONNBA. That's DripDrop.com. Promo code LOCKEDONNBA for 20% off. Stock up now before the heat hits hard. Keep your body and mind performing at their best with DripDrop. Today's episode is also brought to you by our favorite jeanswear. That is Doer in San Francisco. 5 times the stretch of traditional denim. The Performance Denim Slim Straight is my favorite pant that they have. It's changed my life. I wear it nonstop. I need to get it in some more colors because I only have it in the blue jeans, and I've got so many black shirts that I want to wear, and you can't go blue jeans and black. Come on, the style now. But it combines classic jeans wear with the kind of comfort and performance you get from athletic wear. You can truly wear it anywhere. It's got that stretch, and it's also got the Cool Max technology that keeps your temperature regulated wherever you are. And you can check them out in store. San Francisco, 567 Hayes Street in Hayes Valley. Pick up a pair yourself. Or with the holidays right around the corner, it's an amazing holiday gift. Don't take my word for it. Check them out. If you're in San Francisco, go to 567 Hayes Street. If not, go to shopdoer.com/LockedOnSF for 15% off. Doer is spelled D-U-E-R. Use that code LockedOnSF for 15% off. All right, it's back to the show.
Forget that. We champs. Why are you starting with that question? We got 4 championships.
All right, you teed me up to say that Pat Spencer lost the Warriors the game, but before we get to that, I want to get to Will Richard, who had 18 points on 7 of 12 shooting, 2 of 7 from 3, had 6 rebounds, 0 turnovers, a couple of steals. I would have to completely crunch the numbers to know what it looks like, and frankly, it's 2025. It's extremely easy to do, so I'm just going to do it real time. But turnover-wise, he has not turned it over in his last 59 minutes of play. The last time he turned it over was at Miami. Will Richard is someone that you can rely on night in and night out, I think, for 25, 30 minutes, and we're still not seeing that 25 to 35 minutes consistently. Tonight we saw it for 28. Do you think today is one of those performances that reaffirms Steve Kerr that maybe now is the time to start putting more faith in this dude that, let's remember, he's as old as Pods. He's as old as Moody. He's as old as some of these guys.
More importantly, he is just flat out on its face and very clearly better than Pat Spencer or Guy Santos or, frankly, at this stage, Gary Payton II. He's just better. And you say 25 to 30. Why not 35? Why not 37? What he's a young man. It's his first NBA season. He is playing well. He's giving you good minutes. He's not doing dumb stuff. Guy Santos turned it over twice in 6 minutes. Pat Spencer was okay.
You could see why they went with Guy, though, for the size.
I can see because Guy Santos has a specific skill in rebounding. Fair enough. That's why I didn't say Guy and Pat, because here's what happened in this basketball game. They were up 12 at halftime. They were shooting the ball well. First half of the third quarter, not shooting it great, but you know what? It was fine. At the 6-minute mark, they were up 11. They don't to -1 for the first 6 minutes of the third quarter. Guy Santos came in for Draymond Green at the 6-minute mark. In 3.5 minutes, it's a what, 2-point game? Something like that. And then by the end of the quarter, it's tied. Guy comes out. Pat Spencer comes in to start the fourth. They're up 2 to start the fourth. By the time Pat Spencer comes out, I believe less than 3 minutes later, they're down 9. Why is Pat Spencer playing? What's the value in that? You can't just give those minutes to Will Richard? What? I do not understand it. Anyone could look at that guy and see a G leaguer. And you're playing. I mean, Amen Thompson played 38 minutes tonight. Jabari Smith, 36. Reed Shepherd, 37.
And Rockets ran a 9-man rotation. The Warriors went 12. Why do the Warriors always have to go 12? This is what I told you last year. Minnesota kept going 8 in the playoffs. Warriors were dancing around, throwing 11, 12 dudes out there. At some point, whether it's a consolidation trade that's likely in the future, we hope, there has to be a set 9, 10 guys that you feel more comfortable about than the other dudes, or else it's just you got a bunch of dudes that aren't good enough to cement their role and to overtake, I guess, other guys that aren't great.
This is something I want to address because I think this is what a lot of people say. I think this is essentially what Steve Kerr.
That's why we said, that's why we said go get Malcolm Brogdon in the offseason.
No, hold on. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. Pat Spencer would have to add value as a point guard for that to be a valid argument. He doesn't.
He was moving it last game.
He looks more like a point guard than Moses Moody. But the answer to that is not, well, you just have to play Pat Spencer. The answer is change your rotations so Jimmy Butler's in the game when Steph Curry's not. Steph Curry's not a point guard. What are we talking about? They don't usually play with a traditional point guard. That's nonsense. Bottom line is they are playing guys who are not NBA players. And it's one thing to do that against Charlotte. It's another to do it against the Rockets with or without Kevin Durant. It doesn't make sense. It is not smart. And I can't understand why the Moses Moody's and Will Richards, who both played reasonably well tonight, like not a good shooting night for Moses, but he did stuff for you. He
can't go 34.
Basketball.
It's like add 4 to 6 minutes there.
Yeah. Why can't he play Pat Spencer's 6 minutes? Why can't, some combination of Will Richard and Quentin Post take Guy Santos's minutes? I get it. Guy at least is a good rebounder. All right. I'm not saying Moses Moody or Will Richard is a point guard. I'm saying if we want to talk about official designations, the only point guard on the roster is Pat Spencer. They don't need a traditional point guard to run this offense. That's the whole point of it. Steph Curry is technically the point guard. He's not playing traditional point guard. So the idea that, we don't need a traditional point guard for 42 minutes, but that 6 minutes, we absolutely need Pat Spencer out there or everything's going to fall apart. It's nonsense. It makes no sense. And again, the proof is in the pudding. In the fourth quarter tonight, Pat Spencer played 2 minutes and 46 seconds and was -8.
Oh, that's not good.
No, it's terrible.
Yeah, it's not good. Who was good?
Part of it is guys are hurt, but you just can't do that. You can't do that. Sorry, go ahead. Who was good?
Reed Shepherd.
Yeah.
We talked about him last show. He's good. I don't want to say he Wally pipped Fred VanVleet, but if you want to look at some sort of a silver lining, if you're a Houston Rockets fan, it's that Reed Shepherd is holding his own and then some right now in the NBA. He had a career high tonight after having a career high like 4 days ago. He goes for 31, 12 of 25, 4 of 12, 9 rebounds, 5 assists. That's an NBA player. That dude is good.
No doubt.
He's a lottery pick. It didn't take him that long to figure it out. He spent 1 year at Kentucky. Here he goes. Meanwhile, the Warriors still waiting on some of their lottery picks to turn into consistent guys. I mean, he's better than Moses Moody. He's better than Jonathan Kuminga. He's better than all these dudes. At some point, man, the Rockets are hitting.
Chuck,
the Rockets are hitting.
Chuck, first of all, how many times have you seen him play?
Reed Shepherd?
Yeah, because tonight was his career high.
28 games at Kentucky and 5 games in the NBA. I don't know.
Yeah, 5 games in the NBA, and he's only played about 10, So tonight was a career night.
He played like 20 last year.
Maybe, but garbage, not important minutes. And everything you said, except declaring who he is long-term as a player, is true. He's been good. It is a bit of a silver lining, but, a couple games ago, I think he had like 5 points. So I'm not going to declare who he's better than yet. I think, unfortunately, the Warriors are a nice team to come up against for a guard that can shoot it. So tonight he was awesome. But even on an awesome night, he wasn't the most efficient guy in the whole world. He didn't knock, what was he, 4 for 412, you said, from 3? So, like, yeah, the Rockets should be happy about Reed Shepherd, but
dude, they're getting better minutes from Jayshawn Tate, though, and Aaron Holiday, and some of these guys that aren't supposed to be better than. I mean, how much better is Jayshawn Tate than Buddy Hield? How much better is Aaron Holiday than Pat Spencer? No, I'm kidding with that one.
Well, Aaron Holiday is a lot better than Pat Spencer, but Aaron Holiday was 4 for 16 tonight. I mean, Jayshawn Tate is a hustle guy, and he's a tough as nails type of dude. But
how much is some of the Warriors' offensive issues? Let's just
I'll take Moses Moody on any given night over Jayshawn Tate. Like,
forget Moses Moody, forget Jayshawn Tate. Let's completely change the subject to Draymond Green and how much of him being out there for 34 minutes leads to offensive inefficiencies, and how do you fix that? Because I mentioned, what if there was a way to move off of him, and you said that time to move off of him was 2 years ago. They're stuck with him. Like, there's nothing they can do. And we went through all the teams and the possibilities. We said Lakers. We said this. There really is nothing you can do with him aside from try to build your offense to be a little more cohesive with Draymond in there at the 4.
I mean, I just think your first thing is totally wrong. So I'm going to talk the second thing first. He was +9 tonight. He had 12 points, 5 of 8 from the field, 8 assists. Like, I'm sorry that people don't like how Draymond's game looks. The only criticism of his offense tonight is he turns it over too much. And, so does number 30. And they're not going anywhere.
If he doesn't have any offensive game. I mean,
that's just wrong. He's not a scorer.
He's a screener, and he's someone that sets up.
He's as good a passer as anybody in the league over 6'5". He had
a 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. I mean, we'll take it.
But he had a garbage turnover night, and turnovers are a problem. Look, Draymond has a lot of work to do, particularly in taking care of the basketball, if he wants to contribute positively. But Draymond's not the problem with the offense. Tonight, the problems with the offense are you're shorthanded, missing, Melton all year, but Kuminga for a while now, guys that are specific offensive helpers for this team. And Steph was terrible, and Jimmy only shot it 11 times. Like, how good do you expect their offense to be if Steph is 4 for 13 and Jimmy only takes 11 shots? It's just that's. I mean, look, folks, we sometimes we have to be honest about who this team is. And when people are like, "Oh, the Warriors suck. They can never win with this team." Well, if this team means Steph Curry banged up on an off shooting night and no Jonathan Kuminga and no, something you trade him for and no DeAnthony Melton, then yeah, you're right. That team stinks. Like, I don't know what to tell you. That's a fact. I think that the route to the Warriors being good involves Kuminga getting healthy and either playing or being traded for someone who plays. It involves DeAnthony Melton getting healthy. It involves Steph Curry staying healthy and scoring. Like, you're probably not winning a game where he's 4 for 13 for 14 points full stop against a good team. Probably not happening. But I don't know that that's anything to write home about,
Are you winning a game with look, the rebounding over the years and even last year, it wasn't terrible, but you see some of the flaws with the lack of size against specifically this team. I mean, the Rockets just destroyed you on the glass in that playoff series last year. You were able to overcome it, partly because, you got some big Steph games, you got some big Buddy Hield games, and you just had a little more offensive firepower. But this is a team that has Kevin Durant, and he wasn't even playing in the game today, and they were still able to handle you. And that's a team that you got to go through in the West, right? By handle, I mean beat you, Kolsky.
Yeah, I mean, right. Yes. But this is exactly how you beat them last year. And frankly, the Warriors tricked away 2 games in that series, you know? So
No.
they absolutely did.
I mean,
They
there was
should have won
one
it in
where
5. And they blew 2 games, one of them with a just despicable effort. And, there's a temptation when they have a despicable effort in November to say, a team that puts out despicable efforts like that has no shot. But the bottom line is, like, we can't count this team out until we know that they won't have their guys down the stretch, because
but they need
they
more
can lay.
guys. That's they
They
need
need
more
more
guys.
guys than
This isn't
they've
last
had
year.
because they haven't been healthy yet. But
Well,
I don't think we can say
Anthony Melton is slapping a Band-Aid on the Titanic. I mean, the dude's played like 20 games in 3 years. I'm talking real two-way talented NBA players that other teams just have more of.
like
Younger, speed.
like
Like Oklahoma City, the team that's now 18-1.
yeah, but
You want to win a
never,
championship.
but Chuck, there was never a world where the Warriors could compete on paper on a player-to-player basis with Oklahoma City. So, like, if that's the ask,
All right, then let's just go with Houston as the bar.
okay. Well, Houston started Josh Okogie tonight. He couldn't play for the Warriors. They've been bad recently, so they have more young talent, undoubtedly. Amen Thompson, Jabari Smith Jr., who, by the way, plenty of people had as a bust midway through last year. Reed Shepherd, who was great tonight. But after that, I mean, Aaron Holiday is nothing to write home about. Buddy Hield is a different version of a similar level of player. Like, Clint Capella is not better than Quentin Post, really. Jayshawn Tate is a rich man's Guy Santos. Like, the Rockets, they probably are a little better on paper than the Warriors. But what the Warriors are counting on, again, there was never a world where you were going to write down the Warriors roster and say, well, they're the favorites to come out of the West. The argument for the Warriors was get them to the playoffs healthy and put Stephen Curry on the floor and give him a shot. And
then hopefully a shot with the center. And that's what we're talking about. Coming up on Locked On Warriors. Save that thought, Coles.
Who can stop Steph Curry?
Hopefully, we'll never find out.
All right, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Now's a great time to get in with them. So download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Best part about Game Time, you're going to a game last minute, or you had the thing planned in advance, but you don't have tickets yet. Skip the box office. Just go on the Game Time app. You'll get panoramic views of your seats. You'll get the cheapest deals. The closer you get to tip, the cheaper you'll find. And it's a great last minute. You're in a pinch or planning type thing. You can find NBA tickets for under $25, folks. Remember that. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, and go.
Destroy Jimmy and Domino's. I know Jimmy drinks great wine.
All right, man. I want to bring up, and first of all, let's tie a ribbon on this game with Steph's contusion. Hopefully he's good to go. We'll be waiting for the MRI. Golden State's offense was humming to begin this one. They had 18 points in the first 5 minutes of game time. Again, for those of you that don't have the streaming apps, you were watching Oklahoma City just saying, can we please stop getting Oklahoma City on these national TV games before the Warriors, because they bleed out 30 minutes of clock with all the fouls at the end of a game. But the Warriors hit their first 4 threes. Steph was the only one that didn't hit those threes. They shot well, did Golden State overall. 43% shot okay, I guess you could say. But from deep, it was not good. 12 of 43 for 28%. They lose the rebounding battle. Houston's huge. How can the Warriors get huge? Big men that are expected to be on the market, per the sources. Vucevic from Chicago. Nick Claxton from Brooklyn. Sabonis from Sacramento. Anthony Davis. Nick Richards, Robert Williams, Nurkic too, but Draymond, So any of those names excite you? Any of those names actually attainable? Anthony Davis, exciting. How would it even happen? And is it even exciting?
No, I don't think a single one of those names is exciting. Most of them
Vucevic?
are downright horrifying.
Vooch is having a great year, man.
Nick Vucevic is not going to make you better. I promise. I promise.
Then who
cannot defend? Nick Vucevic is going to be Quentin Post on the Warriors, only not as good of a shooter. Like, it doesn't make any sense. He's slow. He's a smart, talented, solid player, but he is slow-footed. He does not defend. I just don't get it. I don't understand why you would want him. Anthony Davis how many games has he played this year? How many games has he played on average per year in his career? Like, are we serious? We're really going to go after Anthony?
He's just your ultimate gamble that Celebrini can work magic. But at
I'd rather take my
9
chances
games
with
last
Zion.
year, 5 this year, 42 and 24.
I would rather trade for Zion Williamson than Anthony Davis. At least with Zion, first of all, he probably costs less. And second of all, like, he's what, 7 years younger or something like that?
Yeah, I've sold all my Zion and Ja stock at this point. I
don't want any of them. But I'm saying, if you want me to trade for a guy who's remarkable when he's on the floor, but isn't on the floor very much, Zion is at the top of my list, ahead of Davis, and Ja would be last out of those three players for me. But I wouldn't do that. Right now, you're so clearly suffering. Look, whether you like Kuminga or not, the fact that, the $30 million representing Kuminga and Melton are unavailable is clearly a problem for this team. They don't have enough guys. They can't put enough talent on the floor. I'm not trading those guys then for someone else who's not going to be on the floor. It's just, I couldn't do it. So, of course, if you were getting 75 game a year Anthony Davis, anybody would trade for him. But there's a reason. Like, if
that's your best gamble, though. I mean, I
disagree. I think there's a better chance that this team comes together than that you pile a bunch of assets to trade for Anthony Davis and get him healthy long enough to do anything. Yeah.
To win an NBA championship, you're saying?
Kuminga is a better asset right now than Anthony Davis is, I would argue. Not a better player, very clearly. Let me be very clear. Never a better player, not a better player.
But Kuminga's on the bench all the time, too.
Well,
he hasn't played much basketball the last 2 seasons. I would argue he played less than Anthony Davis last year. He played 40-something games for the Lakers and then 9 for the Mavericks. I think he missed 30 games with an ankle. So just right there, he only played 50 games. Great. What do you mean? Dude, I'm right.
Kuminga has played first of all, Kuminga has been benched unnecessarily by the coach.
You're moving the goalposts.
No, I'm not moving the goalposts. He's still played probably twice as much as Anthony Davis over the last 3 years or something like that. So, I don't know what we're talking about.
I'm not talking facts. Give me 1 second, though. I want to prove myself right before I go back to this. So Anthony Davis played 51 last year. Jonathan Kuminga played 47 last year. So that is wrong.
But Jonathan Kuminga was benched by the coach at least 7 times. So he was available more than Anthony Davis last year. And
he was benched once in the regular season against the Clippers. That was the only single game he was benched. He was benched in the playoffs. He missed 30 games due to an ankle injury, Kolsky. Again, you're not wrong. I mean, you are wrong factually, but I get what you're saying. I'm just saying, like, they're both hurt.
Jonathan Kuminga has been hurt significantly less than Anthony Davis. There's not even a comparison, and I'm not sure why you would try to make it. Like, and again, that's not even the point. Kuminga's the better asset. Like, Anthony Davis only has value to a team that wants to win now, who believes he can stay healthy. I'm not sure the Mavericks will find that team.
Isn't the Warriors that team?
Not
That's
unless they
literally the
believe he can
team.
stay healthy. And I would not believe he can stay healthy. And again, this is not about Jonathan Kuminga being good. This
You
is
can't even
about
get him, so the argument's probably moot, right?
I bet you could get him.
For who? How do you make the money work?
I'd have to look at it. I mean, Draymond might have to be in the deal. I assumed that was what you were talking about.
Yeah, Draymond and Kuminga in a first for
But
Anthony
the minute
Davis.
you make that deal and Anthony Davis misses a month, you're totally screwed, you know? Like, again, we are seeing what it is right now with half the people who watch the Warriors think Jonathan Kuminga sucks, and they're clearly struggling without him because they don't have enough talent. Imagine if you also took Draymond out of the team, which is essentially what we're talking about if you trade those guys for AD and
But
AD
imagine
doesn't
you
play.
don't make a move, then what happens? We have a ceiling of second round. Like if you get the best version of AD, even just the version that was AD when he was healthy a season ago, and you replace him with Draymond Green, and you have Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, and Anthony Davis, that's definitely a higher ceiling than banking on Kuminga being a dude. In my opinion.
I'm not talking.
In my humble
A
opinion.
higher ceiling? Yes. If you could trade Draymond and Kuminga straight up for Anthony Davis, it's a higher ceiling. But I think the odds of reaching the ceiling are much lower because I don't believe you can count on Anthony Davis. And I think that's been proven year after year after year. Whereas
It's fair.
I think you could, for less than that, for Kuminga and something that's not Draymond, get a player that is much, much more likely to be on the floor while perhaps not anywhere near as good as Anthony Davis. And to me, although that scenario would give you a lower ceiling in theory, like ceiling is only theory. And I think that the history of Anthony Davis suggests that you should take the under on whatever the ceiling is, you know? So the issue there is not how good Anthony Davis is, it's how available Anthony Davis is. There's no chance that Jonathan Kuminga comes back and plays at an Anthony Davis level. I'm not saying that by any stretch of the imagination, but I do think there's a chance that either Kuminga comes back and plays well enough that he plus Draymond equals more than Anthony Davis, or that Kuminga and Pods become some other combination of players or whatever it is, right? A trade is made with Kuminga that gets you guys who play.
I've just
That's
been saying
all.
that since I took over this show. I'm like, internal
I know,
development from Kuminga and Pods and Moody, and we're good. Internal development, and we're spinning the wheel.
Well,
at
listen,
some point.
Pods
But
hasn't developed the way you wanted, but at some point, like, the problem here has been internal discontinuity or internal conflict within the Warriors, because clearly part of the organization has been saying we need to develop these guys, but they haven't been getting developed, and there have been choices made specifically not to develop them.
They're just not
particularly
good
Moody
enough.
and Kuminga. No, man, we don't know. We don't know that.
What do
We
you
know
mean
that
we
right
don't
now
know?
they're
We're
not
5
good
years
enough.
in.
They haven't gotten the opportunity that young guys typically get when they are that talented, and they haven't gotten what is required to develop into better NBA players. I mean, that's
But wouldn't you point at Will Richard as kind of like the
no, because Will
antithesis
Richard
to
is
your-
not being asked to do the things that we want a Kuminga or even a Moody to do. And the guys that we want to compare them to, the Franz Wagners of the world, have been playing 30 minutes a night for those 5 years. I don't want to get into this argument again, but like, it's deeply ironic to me that the attitude from the people who determine minutes was always, well, we can't afford to waste our time developing these guys because we've got games to win. So I'm going to put Anthony Lamb in there. And now it's, we need you to play 30 minutes and score 20 a night. Why haven't you gotten better? They haven't gotten better. Look, who knows? Maybe they haven't gotten better because they're not capable. But I do know that there are plenty of guys who need the time on the floor. In fact, typically guys need the time on the floor. And when you're asking someone to play a very simple, straightforward 3-and-D role that fits perfectly into what he's been doing in college for 4 years, that's easier from a transition standpoint. And already Will Richard gets a longer leash than Moses Moody ever did. So like it doesn't make sense to me. But
I would completely disagree. I think Will Richard got yanked the other night. He started and only played like 9 minutes. I think it's extremely consistent with what I mean. Pods is the only one of all the young guys that has gotten like legitimately a long leash, even when he screws up. Moody, Kuminga, they got similar treatment, I guess, for the most part. And I don't think Will Richard's been some anomaly. I think for a rookie, he's gotten more than normal. But I think after 5 of these shows this season, we've sat here and said, why isn't he playing more?
I agree. My argument is not Will Richard should play less, to be very clear. Will Richard should play more. My argument is critical choices were made that missed development points for players who are now being asked to be the guy that they were never developed into being.
And we'll find out in 5 years, if there's
when Kuminga goes somewhere else, we'll see. And we'll see. But he'll have
look
to have
back at
chance.
their careers, right? If this
exactly.
is who they are, 7 years into their career, it may be. It
may be that Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga are never better than they are today. That is certainly a possibility.
Absolutely.
I am simply saying it's also a possibility that they're a lot better than we've had the chance to see because of the way they've been not developed.
Can I give you the good news, Kolsky?
Yeah, we've gone way longer than expected. But
we did. We went on a tangent, but the good news is that the Pelicans are up next, and that's great news, right? So,
man,
so we'll get 32 more from Moody. We'll get 7 threes in the first quarter, so it should be an easy one there. You lose to Yves Missy and Jeremiah Fears, who's nice, and CJ McCollum put up 40 the other night. You lose to Yes, McCollum. I'm like, is McCollum Wizards? Is it Middleton Wizards? I feel like those guys have just swapped teams for like 8 years.
Yeah, but I think they are both on the Wizards now.
Wait, McCollum is a Wizard.
Yeah, I think they both are. I think McCollum and
that's right. That you got
Middleton.
swapped for Poole. Yeah, that's right. He got swapped for Poole.
Yeah.
He went for 40 the other night. I'm thinking of the wrong team. Let's just put it this way: the Pelicans suck. Everyone, you better win this game. That's on Saturday. This is Locked On Warriors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Happy
your
Thanksgiving
team every day. Yes, ham over turkey, everyone. I said
We're doing
it.
duck, roasting
ham.
some duck. Let's
Yummy.
go.